Hey guys, what's up? GreenMachineSam back with another video, and today we have a very special video. If you guys clicked on it, then you already know what's going to happen. If you guys are new here, I did one of these with Justin Fields and Caleb Williams because of the question marks surrounding the Bears and their quarterback situation going into the offseason, as well as going into the free agency period, and of course the draft coming in just 2 months. Now, of course, this is Drake Maye versus Sam Howell. Unfortunately, we are going to start off with the Drake Maye project. I did decide to name it the Drake Maye Show. So he will be the first guy to go. Sam Howell will be the second guy. Now, what I'm going to try to do for anybody that is new here, what I'm doing is I'm just taking Drake Maye, I'm putting him on the Commanders, I'm trading Sam Howell off, and I'm going to have the same team for both sims. The sim only lasts 1 year for each guy. So I'll go through, I'll sign a bunch of guys, and then those guys will be on the team for the Sam Howell draft. Well, the sim. And Drake Maye will have the same guys as Sam Howell. Sam Howell will have the same guys as Drake Maye. I'll draft the same guys. I'll sign the same guys. Just to make it completely fair. This is more about the quarterbacks and to ask the question, who deserves to be the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders next year? There have been reports that the Commanders could look to trade off Sam Howell, reset their quarterback clock, and take Drake Maye at 2 if that is an option. So, of course, this is the team going into this. This is what the team looks like before any free agency thing happens. The team is not in a very good state, of course, as they went, 4-13, was it? 4-13, something like that. They were very, 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 very bad. The O-line definitely needs some desperate help. Their tight end room is abysmal by any stretch of the imagination. Nobody in this receiver room has really become the number 2. Brian Robinson has had splashes of greatness, but just hasn't put together a full season of work yet. The team is okay. Sam Howell kind of fell apart at the end, but like I've said, this first sim will be the Drake Maye version. Their edge rushers are basically abysmal after trading off Chase Young and both Montez Sweat. Their linebackers are okay, but nothing special there to really write home about. Their cornerback squad is young for the most part outside of Kendall Fuller. They just need to start developing. Same thing can be said about their safeties. You have Cameron Curl, you have Derek Forrest, you have Martin, you have Reeves, all potentially decent to good safeties. Butler as well, Burgess in there. But the bright spot of this defense, of course, is Jonathan Allen and De'Aaron Payne. I still don't understand the Mathis pick. I really don't. To this day, I still do not understand it. Maybe they were trying to run a 3-4 at the time. I do not know. I still just don't understand that pick. So let's go ahead and get into things. Like I've said, now, of course, in the later half of this video, you will not see me signing the same free agents on the Sam Howell one. I turn off the salary cap, and I just sign all the players that I had for the Drake Maye one. It just makes it as fair as humanly possible. There's only a couple guys that I really want back, Curl, Fuller, and others, but the only guy that I could get back in the re-sign period was Kendall Fuller. So we signed him to a 3-year, $12.5 million a year deal. Gets us down to just under $100 million in cap room. I did go ahead and free up a lot of guys that I don't think will be around going into the next season, because of course we do not need those guys. I'm going to go ahead and release them and get that little bit of extra value that I can have on this current roster. Free agency, you're going to see the same thing over and over with the more videos I do of this, whether it's Tennessee Titans franchise, rebuilds, stuff like that. You'll see about the same free agents every single time, maybe different overalls from the beginning of the season till now, but there are definitely plenty of options to help fill this team. We need tackles, we need guards, we need linebackers, we need edge rushers. Corner and safety I'm kind of fine on for now. Receiver, I'm not really looking to go out and make a big old splash. D tackles, of course, we are completely fine at. But we do want to bring back Curl. We want to bring in a linebacker, whether that's Barton or one of these other guys. That would be preferably. We could go after, an edge rusher, some interior O-line help. There's a ton of options to go after here. Bryce Huff is always a good example. But with him going on to the Bears video, I kind of wanted to stay away from guys that I had already went after and used in other videos. So Mike Onwenu is a guy that normally doesn't hit free agency, but we are going to go after him. Of course, we didn't put in the best offer, but we were still going to try. Gesicki, Grenard, Samuel, Curl, and Onwenu are the guys that we want to go after. Samuel I want to bring back just in case I don't decide to take a receiver here in the draft, but that could be an option to take a receiver in the draft in the second or third round with a very deep class of receivers in this year's draft. So, then in eval period 2 of stage 1, we ended up going after Cody Barton, Brandon Graham, Mike Gesicki, Jonathan Gennard, and Landon Roberts. All guys that I think come in and make a difference, fill holes for us for at least a year, if not more. I know this isn't a long-term rebuild, of course, but these are guys that could definitely fill a hole on this team. I wanted Cody Barton back. I figured may as well keep as many Washington Commanders as humanly possible. Of course, he doesn't want to be here, so he makes it a little bit harder. Lincoln Tomlinson should fill in at guard for us very nicely for a season. We were going to go after Josie Jewell. We did for a week, and then we decided to stop because I thought we were going to get Cody Barton because I upped his contract even more after this. We went after Pat Pete, Austin Eckler, and others. Again, to fill spots, have mentor badges, stuff like that on the team to help develop this team just a little bit more. And like I said, I did the same thing for the Sam Howell project, right? I didn't go in there and just be like, okay, I'm not going to give Sam Howell any help. He can figure it out, right? Sanchez and McManus, I was going after, but then I decided but then I got some money back for missing out on a free agent, so I went after Fairbairn and Townsend instead. Leonard Floyd, Quan Alexander to help fill roles as well. We did not get Cody Barton, which I did not know about until later, and then I ended up having to sign some different people in stage 3. Of course, you'll see that here in a second. Terrell Dodson's going to come in instead of Cody Barton, and then Landon Roberts is here as well. Marcus Davenport was another guy I added late. Cody Davis and some more of the veteran mentor badge. Well, mentor tags. I don't like the word tags. I like badges more. Some veteran mentor tags, people that have tags, come in to help solidify those roles, help develop some of the young guys in those positions, and help, progress the team, hoping to have a better outcome than what we have seen before. Okay, now with the free agency period over, we are taking a look at the rest of the team. The team looks pretty good shaking out from free agency. We went ahead and upgraded at both left guard and tight end, bringing in Mike Gesicki and Lincoln Tomlinson, both on pretty expensive one-year deals. Curtis Samuel's back for another year. We brought in Eckler and Elliott to help out that running back core. Just because they're older doesn't mean they're not useful. We brought in Robinson. He's not really going to play all that much. He's mainly there for the mentor badge, if anything. He's one of the cheaper guys to sign, realistically. We brought in Landon Roberts, and we brought in Terrell Dodson, Tay Crowder, and Quan Alexander. The reason why Dodson was brought in was because nobody was bidding on him, even in period 3, compared to last time I tried to get him in my Titans franchise. Everybody was bidding on him. And apparently I didn't get Cody Barton. I thought I did. And then Josie Jewell went right after Cody Barton went. So I lost out on both them. So Roberts is going to slide back to middle linebacker after we moved him to left, after we signed him. And then Terrell Dodson's going to come in and help out that left side. Of course, we still have Jamin Davis, who's going to be our main linebacker, of course. Derek Forrest is still here. Cameron Curl is going to still be our starting strong safety. Martin's backing him up. We brought in Pat Pete, but he's going to be 4-string. He's here for the mentor badge. Brandon Graham, Leonard Floyd, and Marcus Davenport all come in to help out those edge rushers. Now, of course, just because I added somebody at a certain position doesn't mean we can't draft a person at that position. But this is the Drake Maye version, okay? So Sam Howell's technically at 3rd. There have been reports that certain teams could look to trade for him. I'm going to trade him off, but he's only getting traded off for future compensation, not a compensation of this year. It just makes the most sense from our perspective right now to do that instead of some of the other things that we could do. So we'll potentially trade him off. I've seen reports that the Jets are interested and they could do a swap and stuff for certain pieces for him to go to the New York Jets and learn under Aaron Rodgers. I think that's what I'm kind of leaning towards right now. So, of course, this is the Drake Maye one. I do have to go swap picks with the Cardinals because the Cardinals, for some reason in Madden, are moved up to number 2 and the Commanders are pushed back to number 4, which isn't correct. And if I continue with that progress of letting the Cardinals be at number 2, then it should be the Bears who take Caleb Williams. Then the Cardinals would probably take Marvin, and then the Patriots would take Drake Maye. That's just not the case. We need to take Drake Maye. This is the Drake Maye versus Sam Howell, who's better in Madden simulation video. So this will be the team that will be rocked with both on the Drake Maye version and on the Sam Howell version. Okay, so for the next version we do, for the next sim we do with Sam Howell, I'll basically go through free agency. I'll turn off salary cap and I'll just sign everybody to super expensive deals that I got on this team to the other team. Because salary cap doesn't really come into play because mainly I'm just doing 1 year. And I want to make the simulation as fair and even as possible. It's about the QB more than anything. It's not about who I think is better. It's not about who Madden, oh, wow, instead of me, bringing Curtis Samuel back, what if I brought in T. Higgins who was there for Sam Howell? That doesn't really make it fair, right? So that is one thing I do want to address more than anything. I'm going to try to make it even more fair than what I did for the Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams. So I'm going to be taking, the only thing that should change on the next draft will be, I'm either going to be taking Marvin Harrison and letting Curtis Samuel walk, or I'm going to be taking one of the left tackles and then moving Leno or Wiley into guard and maybe not signing Tomlinson or something. Something that's not so important that, it's going to break the fucking game more than anything. But with that being said, guys, let's hop into the draft. So with this trade, we are saying Sam Howell, Chris Rodriguez, and Nick Gates to the Jets for a 6 and a 2. We had to get the money situation figured out, so this is the only way I could get it done. The 6 was just to push it through. So we are now here at the NFL draft. We're going to go ahead and resume draft. I just wanted to make sure I got everything set up before the Bears decide to take their number 1 overall pick. Now, in the mock draft, because I started at the end of the season, there was only 3 mock drafts. So they did decide to take Marvin Harrison Jr. The biggest thing for me, though, is trust me, as cool as I think Commanders fans would be with taking Caleb Williams, this isn't the Caleb Williams versus Sam Howell one, right? Because in real life, if the Bears aren't going to take Caleb Williams number 1 overall, it's a pretty much guaranteed fact that they're probably going to trade down. They're probably going to trade out of that pick. And trust me, I know Commanders fans, if this were to happen in real life, if the Bears decided Marvin Harrison is not worth passing up at number 1 and letting him fall potentially, trust me, I totally would understand you guys wanting Caleb Williams, but this is not that video. This video is Drake Maye versus Sam Howell, so that's what we're doing here. We're going to stick to our guns. Drake Maye, you are the quarterback of the Washington Commanders. Welcome to the team. 6'4", 229, 21 years old out of North Carolina. I think he's actually listed at 6'5". I could be wrong there in that category. And I know he's listed a little heavier as well. I don't know if all these are correct. Trust me, I get it. I'm using somebody else's draft class. I don't really do draft classes. This is somebody else's. This was the top rated one. So Drake Maye, welcome to the Washington Commanders. With our second round pick, there's a multitude of ways we could go. We could go edge rusher here with Jonah Ellis, who is flying up people's boards as we speak. There's been a lot of notoriety about him recently that I've seen anyway. We could go with a receiver in Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Legette. Somebody that we can pair with Drake Maye, who Drake Maye may like. The Texans did kind of sort of the similar thing where they went out and said, hey, who do you like? Who do you want to come here? And, of course, the Texans went out and got C.J. Stroud, and then they went out and got Tank Dell to pair with him. We could go a multitude of directions. I just don't think there's anybody that's quite as valuable as a tight end right now in Jatavion Sanders. Since we are picking him and we are bringing him in right away, he will start over Mike Gesicki and Logan Thomas, because he is a rookie. We do want to pair him with a Drake Maye. Jatavion Sanders, welcome to the Washington Commanders. I don't think it's the biggest need, but here in the second, I think it is probably one of the best. With Chicago's pick here in the second round, of course, we can always go with Tez Walker and get the North Carolina boys back together. Jonah Ellis is a good option, as of course I like him. I think he'll be talented enough. But we are going to go with somebody that I really want. Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, 6'3", 227, physical freak. I think he just pairs best. We could go with a center in either Powers, Johnson, or Van Pran, or an edge rusher, like I said, with either Ellis or Jack Sawyer, or even the other dude out of Ohio State. But as of right now, I'm going to go Xavier Legette. He's the guy that Drake Maye wants. At this point, we're going to take him. Very good physical freak. He's going to come in. I'm going to start him over Curtis Samuel, so it'll be Jahan Dotson, him, and Scary Terry for now. This will help out the receiving core. I'm looking to take a center and an edge rusher with the next 2 picks in the 3rd and the 4th. With this pick in the 3rd round, our pick in the 3rd round, pick 302 basically, we're going to take Jack Sawyer here out of Ohio State. We could take the other Ohio State edge rusher, but I feel like that's kind of old since we did take him with the Bears. So we're going to take Jack Sawyer here. 83 speed, 82 strength, 86 acceleration, 76 agility, 82 change of direction. He kind of reminds me in a way of the dude on the Bengals, not Trey Hendrickson, the other one. Sam Hubbard. He's kind of bigger physical guy, in my opinion. I don't know. Princely Umanmali. I'm definitely not saying that correct. But speed rusher out of Florida, 6'5", 255. Another edge rusher, it looks like. Good physicals. Good physicals, good skills. He has multiple A's across the board. I think he'll be a fantastic edge rusher for us, especially backing him up. You know, we're redefining this D-line a little bit with the reductions of Montez Sweat and Chase Young. He does not have a depth trait, but 84 speed, 88 jumping, 80 change of direction, 86 acceleration, 79 agility, 76 strength. Looks like a good young edge rusher. With our pick here in the 5th round, we're taking Hunter Nuzard out of Penn State, 6'3", 23 years old, 315 power center. We need a center. He's going to come in, fill that hole right away if Stromberg isn't ready to go. 86 strength, 64 speed, 78 acceleration, 76 jump. Good all-around center. Jason Henderson here in the 6th at pick 602, basically. I'm just clarifying it as, 6th round, second pick in the second round, 6th round. Out of Old Dominion here, 6'1", 227, 22 years old, middle linebacker. Decent physicals, in certain categories anyway. He's a good, explosive athlete. Not really the top end speed, I guess. I think he's going to be fine. He's not looking to start right away. Well, we're not looking to start him right away with multiple guys in front of him. But he does fill a hole in potential project piece for us here at middle linebacker. Honestly, with this pick in the 7th, I was looking at a couple guys, but nobody really draws interest. Nobody's going to really impact the team in any credible way. So we're going to go ahead and trade with the Chicago Bears. They're going to end up we're going to take a 6 from them. We've traded with them in the past. We're going to trade with them here again. Deal gets done. We're done with the draft now. Let's go take a look at it and then start simming. So, looking at the draft recap, of course, we went out and took Drake Maye with our number 1 overall pick at pick 2. Of course, Caleb Williams ended up going number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons, so the Atlanta Falcons still get their guy. So in this universe, we're just going to pretend like the Bears somehow traded down to 8, still picked up Marvin Harrison, kind of like we did in our Bears video, and Caleb Williams just went number 1 or some shit. But Drake Maye here at 2. Then we went out and took Jadavion Sanders to help our tight end room. Xavier Legette, Jack Sawyer, Princely Umanum. I'm not even going to try. Some of these fucking last names, dude. I'm not kidding. Some of these last names are incredibly hard. Took a center and then took a middle linebacker to round out our team. It's pretty good value. I don't think anybody would be particularly disappointed in this group. I really wanted to go out and get I really wanted to get a center at in the 3rd round, and then I was hoping Jack Sawyer would fall. But Van Pran was gone, Powers was gone, some of the other guys I particularly liked more were gone, and I knew, Hunter? We're just going to call him Hunter. We're just going to call him by his first name. I knew he was still going to be on the board at least up until the 5th, so we decided to take him instead and take Jack Sawyer early. Nobody really has to change positions besides I think we're going to move Jason over to right. And, of course, Princely, we got to move down to edge. But other than that, I think it's a good draft class. I think this will help out the team significantly. This should change a lot of how we are going to go about things. Now, of course, like I said, when we go ahead and do the Sam Howell sim, what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to go through, draft the same exact players in the same exact spots. The only difference will be Drake Maye will not be going at number 2. We will probably be taking a tackle at number 2, which I know isn't the most sexy pick, but it will be what we decide to do. We're going to try to protect Sam Howell a little bit better. But everybody else should be virtually the same. If they're not starting, it's not as big of a deal if I don't get them, right? Sanders, Legette, and then the tackle will be the main focuses. But I am going to get the other 4 as well, more than likely. So, let's go ahead and hop in and start simming the season away. Okay, so we are week 1 after just getting some players moved around and, of course, cutting down to the 53-man roster. So we do have a lot of things to take care of. Not really. we're mainly just simming out. I'm going to upgrade the players, put some staff points in, and that's really that. I don't really care about choosing class or anything like that. Of course, that stuff will not matter because we're only simming this season to really see who is the better player and who will be better for the fit for the Washington Commanders going forward for at least the first season. Is it Sam Howell or is it Drake Maye? We will come to find out soon enough. So, I'm going to go ahead and sim to week 8, and then we'll meet back there. So, at the midseason mark, we are 3-3, and of course, it's kind of disappointing because I did stop the sim at one point, and we were 3-0, so losing out our next 3 games as well as the bye week. Not particularly great, but in a tough division, that's kind of understandable to say. I'm not going to say it's unexcusable, but it's definitely understandable. I do have auto upgrades on players and staff points and scouting on auto. Granted, we're not going to play after this season. It's just a 1-year thing. So let's go ahead and see how we finish out the season now. So that's tough. We went 10-7. The Cowboys went 16-1, of course, because their playbook is fucking broken. Madden, please fix that. Jesus Christ. If this happens again next year, we're actually going to have a problem. But going 10-7 throughout the year, middle of the road team in virtually all categories. The only particular spot we were actually great in was in defensive yards, pass yards per game for defense. That was the only spot we were particularly good in. We were also good in, we were right around average for most of our stats, which isn't particularly bad. 10-7 though, missing the playoffs because we just weren't a top team. Looks like Eagles got the last spot, which means the NFC was particularly loaded this year, I would assume. It also particularly sucks when the Falcons make it and they have Caleb Williams. Yeah, we were 10-7. There was 2 other 10-7 teams in the NFC. Rams, Bears, and Commanders all do not make the playoffs at 10-7. This is kind of back in like 2012 when Lovie Smith got fired from the Bears, where I think Packers, Vikings, and Bears all went 10-6, but because of head-to-head matchups in other categories, the Bears didn't make the playoffs. It's crazy because then the next NFC team, the next best NFC team after us, is literally the Cardinals at 7-10. So the drop-off of NFC teams and Saints, Panthers, Giants, Lions, and Seahawks are all under 6 wins. That is fucking crazy to say the least. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats too real quick, and then we will start to do the Sam Howell one. So first and foremost, yeah, it's tough. It is. 10-7 rookie quarterback. He was better than average. He had 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, 13 picks, 66 completion percentage, 212 yards per game, 94 rating. Looks pretty good. Sacked 32 times, so basically twice a game almost. Not bad. It's really not bad. I think if you were a Commanders fan, 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, 13 picks, I don't think this is particularly bad. I don't have Sam Howell's stats for the 2023 season off the top of my head, but I do think he had better yards than that. I know he had more picks. Brian Robinson had a pretty decent year, just not particularly great running the football, but that's bound to happen without a great O-line and then just without that workhorse. Plus in Madden, stats running the football is so fucking broken half the time, so I'm not going to really count that as much. Terry McLaurin, 991 yards, 9 touchdowns. Xavier Legette, 812 yards, 4 touchdowns, 70 catches. Jahan Dotson, 808 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tavion Sanders, 534 yards, 4 touchdowns. It was an okay season. Sacks are sacks. They're always going to pile up. Hunter did apparently pretty fantastic at that center position, as you guys can tell. Sacks are so fucking broken in this game for the most part, but sacks on our team, yeah. I don't know what to do. There's just nothing going on. When your safeties combined are putting up just as many sacks as some of your D linemen, it's pretty crazy. Terrell Dotson, who's not supposed to be blitzing, Cameron Curl, and Emmanuel Forbes basically had the same amount of sacks as Brandon Graham had all season, who was supposed to be a 79 edge rusher. It's kind of weird to say the least. Jonathan Allen only had 8. De'Aaron Payne only had 5.5. And from what I've known it's more about just playbooks too as well. 23 tackles for loss for Brandon Graham, 13 for Jonathan Allen, 10 for Grenard, 10 for Davis. Kamari Fairbairn did well. So I'm not particularly mad at this at all. I think Drake Maye played fine. I do want to see where he fell in the standings in terms of yearly awards, of course. Dak Prescott, of course, going 16-1 is going to win MVP. NFC Offensive Player of the Year goes to Brandon Ayuk. At least Madden was understandable and put somebody that wasn't a quarterback there. Defensive Player of the Year, no. Commanders. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Jaden Daniels of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Wow. So he goes to Tampa Bay. So originally when I was looking at the mock draft, Drake Maye was scheduled to fall all the way down to 26. So I guess when the Bucs got to pick 26, they decided to take Jaden Daniels. Marvin Harrison at 2, Drake Maye at 3, Caleb Williams at 6. So apparently he just didn't have a great year. Ray Davis at 5 for the Vikings. Troy Franklin at 4. Leggett at 7. Penix. Jeez. The NFC is loaded with young QBs. They got Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, and others all on the NFC side of the ball. I want to see if there was anybody on the AFC side for quarterbacks then. Rookie of the Year. Jordan Travis. Really, that's who the Broncos decided to roll with. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. And I don't think there's going to be... Jesus fucking Christ. Look at all the Cardinals. They took 4 defensive guys, and they're all inside the top 5. Jesus. But, so that will do it for the Drake Maye part of this experiment, or little sim. So we're going to now flip over to the Sam Howell experiment. It's going to take me a minute to get set up, but once we do get set up, we should be good to rock and roll. So, like I had previously stated, we're going into the Sam Howell sim now. Of course, we're back at the draft. I went ahead, re-signed everybody. I'm going to show you guys the roster real quick. I have an adjusted lineup. I just went through and I just ended up just cutting all the players that we did not need. A couple of things will be changing. Of course, Nick Gates will be around this year as well. Mainly because, of course, we will not be trading him off with Sam Howell to make contracts work. Right? We're not opening up a spot for that center to come in right away. Now, of course, we do have an interesting question. Of course, if we take a tackle, it does leave the interesting option of who could slide into center besides Ricky Stromberg, or if we do still take Hunter, do we end up running with him back at center, of course, again. So those are some very interesting questions, of course. There's a lot of stuff that could possibly change, but we're going to take the same guys and get the draft going. If for some reason we do have to take a different player at a pick, I will show you guys that player. If it's the same player, you guys won't be seeing them, of course. Some of the backup O-linemen, of course, are different, mainly because I'm going to need guys in different positions to be veterans, because I want those extra bits of XP for those young guys, right? There was no reason for me to go out and get a veteran for Lincoln Thompson. He's 30. There was no reason for me to go out and get a veteran for Andrew Wiley, Charles Leno. Sam Cosmi's an 85. If he's going to continue to develop, he's going to do it under his own merits. He's at an 85, which is kind of that limit for offensive line where you're not going to be, you have to get an extraordinary amount of XP to continue to progress correctly, and especially at normal dev trait. And this is still why I don't understand how Madden decides who gets dev traits, because Sam Cosmi's apparently an 85 in Madden's roster, but isn't a star offensive lineman in the league. I don't understand that. That's not up to me, though. Of course, like I said, it virtually is supposed to be the same team. Okay, so looking at the team, it's virtually the same. Another difference is Cody Davis decided to retire, so we had to go out and get McLeod instead at that strong safety. Again, he's not that big of an impact. He's not going to change anything for us here today as well. We didn't go out and sign Marcus Davenport because we ended up cutting him in the last sim, because we did not have a roster room for him after taking those 2 edges in the later rounds of this year's draft. So, of course, little things have changed. Nothing that's going to drastically impact the team or change it in any shape or form that will force Sam Howell to be a better or worse quarterback, in my opinion. So, let's get the draft underway. Let's go take our number 1 overall pick at pick 2. So, with this pick, we are going to be taking Joe Alt. Now, I haven't officially decided who I like better at left tackle in terms of the guy from Penn State. I don't know how to say his name correctly, so I'm just not even going to attempt it right now. Or whether or not I like Joe Alt more. But Joe Alt being a pass protector and us wanting to lean towards the passing game because of the receivers that we have available, and the quarterback, of course, being Sam Howell. We're going to take Joe Alt here. He will be the number 1 offensive tackle off the board at pick number 2. He will go now. I think this is the best value pick, especially if Marvin Harrison isn't there. I could see in a world where if the Commanders do decide to let Curtis Samuel walk, and if the Bears end up trading back further than pick 2 or 3, I could see a universe where the Commanders go, Marvin Harrison is on the board. We have Sam Howell. If they don't particularly like Drake Maye and Caleb Williams goes at 1, I could see a world where they pass up on both a tackle and a quarterback and take a receiver. Now, of course, in this universe, we are taking Joe Alt to help protect Sam Howell. Charles Leno has played guard in the past. He did play guard, I think, for a season or 2 with the Bears, and then he finally moved to tackle. He was actually, I think, like an undrafted or 7th round pick or something like that, and he started off as an interior O-line. He's 6'3". He could easily move back in. This isn't a realistic sim or anything. He could easily move into guard, start over Lincoln Thompson, stuff like that. But Joe Alt here at pick 2 in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft for the Sam Howell sim. So we did end up going through the whole entire draft, taking the same exact draft class. Now, of course, one big thing that I want to talk about is we did have a chance to take Cedric Von Prawn out of Georgia in the 3rd round, and I was very much tempted to. But the thing was, I didn't want to deviate. I did not want to give a reason for people to be like, oh, the sim's not fair. He had Von Prawn protecting for him versus, Drake Maye had Hunter. So I decided, you know what, just keep the same guys, draft the same guys, let's move on, let's get going into the sim. So Joe Alt comes in at pick number 2. He will start right away. We'll probably move Leno into guard. Lincoln Thompson will, of course, not play then. And then, of course, Hunter will play center with Ricky Stromberg behind him. I think this is still a very good draft class. I think if you're a Commanders fan, I don't know if you would particularly like this based off your needs and stuff like that. And I don't know who exactly they would be bringing back. Would Cody Barton be coming back and others? Of course, those are some major questions to be answered later down the road. But for now, I think Sam Howell will have a good chance to beat out Drake Maye. Let's get to the beginning of the season. Okay, we are now at the start of the Sam Howell sim, so now we will go ahead and get things underway. I'm just gonna show you guys the team too, just to make sure that you guys can see what exactly I'm talking about as well. So Sam Howell will be coming in and playing quarterback, of course, for us. Leno at left guard, Joe Alt at left tackle. Leno hasn't played a whole ton of games at left guard. Wiley would have been a better option, but I think it's just better just to start Leno. We could have moved Alt over to right. Leno stays at left and Wiley into guard. But for now, we're just going to keep it how it is. It doesn't matter all that much. I don't think the line's going to determine whether or not we win or lose any games. It's going to mainly be about Sam Howell, this running game, and this pass attack. The team looks very good, though. It looks like it should develop in the right direction. I don't think if you were a Commanders fan, I don't think you'd be particularly mad about this squad. I think the only major difference would be Brandon Graham. I don't think you'd be particularly happy about, and Landon Roberts coming in over Cody Barton. But everywhere else, I think you'd be decently happy with at best. You have Stromberg and you have Gates, Hunter, all decent options at center. But I think the team's pretty good for the most part. It should be a pretty tight race between the two quarterbacks. Hopefully Sam Howell can come out here and put up a show for us, so there is a conversation to be had at the end of the video. With that being said, guys, let's get to week 8 now. So, at week 8, of course, of this season, we are starting off the season a little bit differently. The schedule has changed a little bit. So this time we are taking on the Cincinnati Bengals here in week 8. Instead of the Dallas Cowboys, we are 4-3. We are still 3rd in the division. That has not changed. Still a pretty tough division. It's going to be hard to win games, but we are still playing pretty well for the most part. 4-3. It looks like we're ranking about the same as we were last season. Besides that pass defense, it looks about the same. We're middle of the road in a lot of categories, right around that mid-mark in a lot of categories. So it looks like a balanced team so far. It looks like it's going to be about similar. It'll really just come down to some of these later season games, whether or not Sam Howell can finish them off. But with that being said, let's get to the playoffs now. Let's see if Sam Howell can lead us to the playoffs, unlike Drake Maye. Okay. So that didn't go as according to plan as I thought it did. Sam Howell the team just completely shit the bed, apparently. We dropped in all of our rankings. We were, middle of the road for most of the season in a lot of our rankings, and we only won 2 games the rest of the year. So we ended up losing 8 games. We went 2-8 in the later half of the season. That is fucking unbelievable. How bad the team just did. So this kind of solidifies the point of Drake Maye's probably the option at QB. I'm going to take a look at the team just to see what the fuck is going on. Of course, there's going to be morale deficits because of the losing, but holy shit, what the fuck happened? What the actual fuck happened? I can't wait to look at the stats and see how bad we were. Like, that's insane. That's, wow, okay. That's no good. Okay, so let's go take a look at the stats then. So I guess if you're a fan of winning, oh my god, and Sam Howell did so bad. Sam Howell, 3,400, almost 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 13 picks, 62 completion percentage, 86 rating, 205 yards per game, 35 sacks. So he got sacked more. He had a worse rating, less yards per game, less completion percentage. I think 1 less interception, but 4 less touchdowns. He had less yards, just had a worse record. I think this kind of solidifies the fact that Sam Howell isn't the option. I know this is Madden. I know it's a completely different story. But even with the way how Sam Howell finished out the season of 2023, I think it's kind of understandable if you would say he isn't the option at QB either. Brian Robinson, about the same as he had the year before with Drake Maye. Receiving got a little worse, not completely, but it definitely got worse in some areas. McLaurin didn't put up as many yards. I think Leggett had more receptions and maybe more yards, but then Dotson, I think, struggled. Jatavion Sanders had a little bit more yards, but it was not a good season apparently for us. Joe Alt led up 12 sacks, so maybe that's the issue. Maybe because we ended up going in a different direction at tackle, maybe that was the issue for it. Maybe, I guess. I'm not 100% sure. Tackles for loss, Jonathan Allen with 23, Brandon Graham with 19, Gennard 12, Darren Payne with 12. Sacks, 7.5 for Allen, Gennard, 6 for Payne, 5.5 for Graham. So the front four did a little bit better as a whole, but not completely better. Picks, just not really there. Decent amount of picks, 4 for Forrest, 3 for Curl, 2 for Davis, 2 for Forbes, and 2 for St. Just. Just not a good season. Fairbairn played better. I don't know what really happened. Maybe it was the playbooks. I didn't change the playbooks for Drake Maye. I don't understand what really happened here. This is incredibly bad. Yeah, I don't think there's any, at least with the Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields ones, Justin Fields went 14-3, but ended up not having as good as stats, but the team played significantly better. But with, Caleb Williams, he had better stats. They still played good to make the playoffs, but they didn't go as far in the playoffs or have as good of a record. But then with with this one, with Drake Maye versus Sam Howell just completely shit the bed. I don't know if it was on the rest of the team or him. More importantly, they still weren't ranked they were still ranked medium, in that middle section for pass yards per game. But everything else kind of suffered, it seemed like. So I don't know if that was a product of Sam Howell or what. We try to run this back as similar as possible, so you can't look to one area besides Joe Alt and Drake Maye being the differences of who ended up, changing how this team worked. And we were 4-3 at the midway mark. The Giants were 3-4, so they ended up winning 8 games and only losing 2 games the rest of the season, which is crazy to say the least. And then, of course, the conversation has to shift towards, of course, the division itself. If this is true and the Giants did go 11-6, the Eagles went 11-6, the Cowboys went 12-5, it's kind of hard to win games when all your divisional opponents are winning games as well, because they're playing against you, they're playing good, they're playing phenomenal. But then again, the Eagles went 10-7 in the Drake Maye one. The Cowboys went 16-1. So, there's a ton of conversations to have. I want to see how stacked the NFC was, just to see whether, holy fuck, the Chiefs went 16-1 compared to their 9-8 in the Drake Maye sim. Holy shit. The NFC wasn't particularly stacked. The only good team really that missed the playoffs was the Saints at 9-8. I think the AFC was a little bit more stacked this time around, but that's tough to really look at and say, is there really a conversation there at that point? I don't know, Commanders fans. What do you guys want them to do? Would you prefer them to go after Caleb Williams and trade up with the Bears and see if the Bears would be willing to trade back that one spot? I don't think you'd have to give up as much as a team like the Falcons, who are at 9, or a team that is further down the board, of course. Or would you rather stick with Drake Maye? Would you stick with an offensive tackle? Madden isn't, of course, the end-all, be-all, right? I think Madden puts too big of an emphasis on both playbooks and running backs in Sim. If you did not know, running backs are like one of the major factors. I've had teams with 60 overall, mid to low 60 overall quarterbacks perform better than teams that have 90-plus quarterbacks because they had a 90-plus running back in the backfield, right? Madden puts, like I said, too much of a emphasis on playbooks and running back stats and all this and that. I don't think they put enough emphasis on the team itself. They put too much emphasis on one particular position group more than anything else. So, of course, this isn't to take it to heart, right? If you're a Sam Howell fan, this isn't going to particularly mean anything to you, right? It's just a fun little video experiment of who's better, Drake Maye or Sam Howell. Madden 24 decides, right? But it definitely brings up a conversation of who should the Commanders go with. I've seen the reports of there potentially being Sam Howell being traded off to a team with an aging veteran quarterback like a New York Jets. If the Jets could afford it right now. If the Jets would be willing to part way with picks, and if the Commanders were really looking for a full-scale rebuild, with Dan Quinn coming in and all this and that, would they be willing to move on from Sam Howell, draft Drake Maye at 2, have extra draft capital in the future for when Drake Maye is starting to get going, to be able to go out and get him weapons, get him protection, get him a defense or whatever? There's a lot of different options that you can go with, of course. I'm not going to sit here and say there's one way or the other that you can go with that will particularly define your franchise. But with that being said, guys, if you guys enjoy this content or the content here on my channel, I'd appreciate it if you guys do stick around and subscribe. I know you guys really liked the Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams video. That one had popped off a lot better than I thought it would have, which I appreciate the support on that. I do have Tennessee Titans franchise coming soon. A roster update was just recently put out. I haven't gotten all the future reserve contracts done, but I have gotten a good chunk of them. I've gotten all the players that have been released over the last week. Those guys are gone. Tracy Walker, Eddie Jackson, Cody Whitehair, Chimuka Okafor, Mitchell Trubisky, Presley Harvin, and stuff like that. Now, of course, I will say if I do have to fill a roster spot, I'm just going to go into the list, find the lowest rated guy, and sign them to that position so that I can release the player that is at least a decent overall, right? If it's, because of Presley Harvin being a 69, I had to go in and sign a 63 overall punter and put him on the team. It's the only way to do stuff like that. With that, stuff will be addressed more in the roster updates when I do decide to post those. So like I said, I do have Tennessee Titans franchise coming out, roster updates for Madden, potentially 2K roster updates if anything happens, whether it's roster ratings or stuff like that, or potential buyouts and stuff. With that being said, guys, if you guys enjoy this video or any of the videos here on my channel, I'd appreciate, like I said, if you guys stick around and subscribe, and I'll be back with more videos like this. But with that being said, I'm out.